Mount Baldy's 35 or 40 miles from downtown Los Angeles.
It's about 8 miles up to the top. And then there's various cabins strewn about the mountains. You might not have cell service. You might not see a neighbor for days.
Judy and Marcia wanted to move to the mountain for a quieter kind of life.
Unfortunately, that just didn't happen.
These strange events have been plaguing the cabin.
I had never seen so much blood. I didn't know what to do.
What the hell happened?
How can anybody in their right mind do this?
There are bad people in the world that have ill intentions, and that was just tragic. It was probably about 6:37. It was still light, summertime. I was up on top of Glendora Ridge Road because there's a big, vast area that had been bulldozed to put houses up there. I was walking my dog. My dog ran loose, and I was running after him. I ran into these two women, and they had my dog, and I was like, oh, thank you for getting him.
Judy Gellert was in her late 40s, and Marcia Johnson was a bit younger, in her late 30s. Marcia was the more outgoing, gregarious type, where Judy was a little bit more shy, a little bit quieter.
The neighbor had rented them that little space. They had their trailer parked up there for a while, and I don't know how long. They just seemed nice, and I thought maybe we could be friends.
Judy Gellert and Marcia Johnson met in the late 1980s in a substance abuse rehabilitation center, where they were both seeking help. The two developed a close friendship.
And as their relationship deepened, they developed a sexual relationship and ultimately became partners.
They were able to get sober together. Judy secured a position as a substance abuse counselor, while Marcia was working in computer programming, and they began a life of their own, really, a future. Judy and Marcia spent about 10 years traveling in an RV together. They had lived in a number of places around California, and by 1998, Judy and Marcia had settled on a campground near Mount Baldy. In the 1990s, it wasn't the same as now. Gay couples didn't have the same comfort level being open and honest about their relationships. In moving to Mount Baldy, they were probably hoping to escape the outside world a little bit. The first time they met, Judy and Marcia were telling Carrie how they really wanted a permanent home. The thing is, real estate on Mount Baldy is pretty hard to come by because the residents don't leave. They stay there. Carrie said, well, it just happened to be good timing because she knew of a cabin that was for sale. And the cabin was being sold by 71-year-old Jack Irwin.
Jack had lived on the mountain several years. His cabin was like a mile up this little road that wasn't well maintained.
Jack was a Korean War veteran. He was a loner and was very frugal.
He was the type of guy that slept on a cot. He had one knife, one fork, one plate, one spoon. Very minimalist.
What actually led him to being up on Mount Baldy, he didn't say. Other than the fact that he did like to be alone. And that's a good place to be alone.
once in a while, my husband and I would have Jack down for dinner because he has no relatives and no friends as far as I know. He didn't talk a lot, but he would sit and just be with our son. He was a very private person. I'm thinking that there was more to his life that he never talked about.
He loved his cabin, and he kept it immaculate, but Jack was having a harder time as he got older.
You look at the cabin and it's got to be heated by chopping firewood.
As he was aging, that was becoming more and more of an issue.
He was looking for a little bit more comfort.
Marcia and Judy had met Jack and asked if they could buy the cabin.
When newcomers come onto Mount Baldy, they're greeted with a little bit of skepticism. They are regarded as outsiders, and I think it takes a while to kind of penetrate that wall. He wanted to make sure that the people who were going to buy his cabin could be trusted, and they felt this need to impress Jack.
They would meet up at the store and pick up mail together. They tried to do the best they could for him, be part of his life.
They were only in Jack's life for a few months, but they became friends. And then Judy and Marcia began to spend more and more time with Jack. He had these two people who were interested in him, and he liked that.
Early on in 1999, Jack had told me that Marcia and Judy had honed in on what was going on in the village and what the people were like.
Jack really believed that they would take care of the property and that they would fit in with the community as well.
He sold the cabin to Marcia and Judy, gave them some great terms, and should have been a very wonderful life for those two.
Jack moved to a home about a half an hour down the mountain in a suburban town called Upland. It was at the base of the mountain where he could still have the beautiful view, but enjoy, I think, more creature comforts. Judy and Marcia saw Jack quite frequently still.
Material things were not important to him, but that cabin, that's what he loved. He was so insistent every day going up the hill to check on it.
There was one day I was hiking, going down by the cabin, and I hear this heated argument. And Marcia was saying, "I'm sorry, Jack, I'm sorry." And Jack, I couldn't make out what he was saying.
There seemed to be something about this cabin that Jack couldn't let go of.
They were fighting, and then it stopped. I heard the car start up, and so I watched Jack's car drive by. And he drove on down the mountain, and I called Marcia. I said, "You guys, is everything okay?" And she said, "Oh yeah, it was just a misunderstanding." I didn't know what to think.
This really piqued the curiosity of the neighbors because all of a sudden they're hearing arguments and there's a tension. And I think everybody was wondering what in the world is going on with these three. Well, it turns out prior to the sale of the cabin, Jack didn't realize that they are a gay couple. This was a real change and a surprise.
Marcia and Judy had said that was not something that Jack could handle. I mean, long back in the 40s and the 50s, it was something you never talked about. And he was very much against them being in that situation. So he was verbally not nice to them, and they had kind of cut it off at that point.
He left and never returned.
By the end of the summer, Jack's trips up the mountain had come to a complete end.
I had called Jack to Thanksgiving dinner at our homes a month or so ahead of time. I kept calling, and I couldn't get in touch with him. We always were in contact, and with not hearing from him for days and days and days, it was not like Jack. Mount Baldy is the community of people that all knew each other, and if you don't see somebody, you check on them. I had put a sign of Jack missing on the front of the post office. Everybody up there has a P.O. box, so they would come in and ask about Jack. When Marcia and Judy came into the post office, I asked them if they had seen Jack.
They did acknowledge that it had been some time since they heard from Jack, and there was definitely some question.
Sometimes you just get a feeling or an aura about a person, and I had such a terrible feeling that he was in danger. And I said, well, you need to call the police.
On October 3rd, 1999, the Upland Police Department received a call from Marcia Johnson reporting Jack Irwin missing. And she said she lived in a cabin on Mount Baldy. So after the initial report was made, one of our police officers responded to her home and got some additional information from her.
When the Upland police interview Judy and Marcia, the pair describes a relationship in which they are very close with Jack. But by the end of the summer, the relationship between Jack and Judy and Marcia began to change. He came to the cabin, but Jack was very rude and belittling. Despite the tension there, they explain that they really care for Jack very much, and they wanted the police to find him.
There's no crime involved in being a missing adult. There's no obligation to contact your friends or family. Our objective is to find out that the person is safe.
They go search the Upland house. There was nothing in the house that showed that there was any foul play. Didn't seem like there was anything out of the ordinary.
Jack had no relatives here in California, no phone, no credit cards.
We had spoken with other people from Mount Baldy, and they all indicated that he didn't make a lot of money, but he had a lot of money. He bought the house in Upland for cash.
And the other thing is, Jack didn't hide it. They said that it was not unusual for him to pull his wallet out and tell people, I'm okay, I've got plenty of money.
They said that he just spent so little that it accumulated over his life. So certainly there was a possibility that Jack had actually gone off in some city because he had had the resources to do that. He could have taken a vacation, and he is where he has chosen to be. We put out the national feelers. We've contacted the LA County Morgue. There's no unclaimed bodies that match his description. There is nothing to indicate where Jack might be.
So they felt that Jack was still alive up there somewhere.
So his information was in a national computer system where if any law enforcement officer in the country were to run his name, we would be contacted.
Marcia and Judy knew that Jack simply didn't want them there. They were trying to build a quiet nest for themselves where they felt comfortable being in their open relationship. Being alone in a mountainous area, there aren't a lot of people around. While that might have a beautiful side, it also has a very dark side.
It would be very difficult if somebody were in trouble up there. You just wouldn't really hear somebody yelling, screaming, unless you were right there witnessing it all.
Just by the nature of living in such a place like Mount Baldy, without having company or without there being lots of people around, you can become an easy and likely target for a crime.
There had been a burglary. A computer and a lot of material things were taken out of the cabin.
The sheriff's department in San Bernardino County came out.
The police did not have any witnesses. There's no signs of forced entry. There's no forensic evidence. They believed that the person or persons who committed this crime could be from inside the community. And that brought up all these questions about Jack.
I thought about when Marcia, Jack, and Judy were fighting outside. Jack was obviously upset. That whole thing was weird.
Jack disappears and nobody sees him, nobody knows where he's at. And then the cabin is burglarized.
It was possible that Jack wasn't missing, and we decided he wanted to come home to his cabin.
Marcia and Judy felt afraid for their safety. And at that time, they decided it was time to pack up and leave.
And they gave me their phone number and said, don't give this to anybody else. We're going to be staying with some friends. Anytime somebody leaves, you always let your neighbor know, hey, I'm going to be out of town for a week, keep an eye on my cabin. So I said I would keep an eye on their cabin when they left.
In Southern California, peak season for wildfires is late summer and into the early fall.
The fire happened in August of 2000. I ran up the street to see what was going on, and I see this plume of smoke, and it was just black.
It was a terrible fire. The fire department from all different counties were there. The community was saved. And so we were very lucky.
Nobody was inside the cabin. Nobody was injured.
Unfortunately, the cabin was destroyed. just a shell of a house.
The insurance company hired a private fire investigator.
But this wasn't the result of a wildfire. The fire came from the cabin.
When I talked to the fire inspector guy that day after the fire and everything was out, and he did his, report, and he told me that there was an accelerant. And I thought, oh my God.
So that kind of leaves only one thing, that being arson.
Judy and Marcia would have to be asking themselves, why us?
That made me very scared, because anybody starting a fire up here, it'd be like starting a fire in their own backyard. That could have spread real quick. I could never imagine someone doing that.
It was evident that someone didn't want them there. And at that time, Marcia and Judy decided it was time to leave Mount Baldy for good.
And so they moved to the Alpine area. Then they've started a new life.
Jack has been missing for over a year and a half. And the Upland Police Department had really hit a wall. These strange events have been plaguing the cabin where Jack Irwin used to live. There had been a break-in, a burglary, and then shortly after, there was a suspicious fire. And the police think that these crimes are connected to Jack's disappearance.
We made a decision as an agency to bring in the San Bernardino County District Attorney's Office to investigate further.
Maury Weiss was already up on the mountain, and so he wants to see the remains of this cabin that's at the center of all this controversy. To look for any piece of evidence, no matter how small.
I went to the cabin alone. It was a mess. It was burned. It was really burned. There was a deck on the front of the house, and there was a storage area underneath that. I found a box that the fire investigator didn't say anything about.
When Maury Weiss unlocks this box, the investigation went in a direction that was much more sinister.
Maury Weiss was down where Jack's cabin had burned down.
There was a box that was sitting outside. I'm not sure how long it had been there, but there was a number of different types of paperwork in it. And I remember going through it and thinking that we may be starting to look for something a lot more detailed.
Before he went missing, Jack had signed a trust that named Marcia and Judy as beneficiaries and also gave them power of attorney. There's every reason to believe that Jack voluntarily and with knowledge signed the power of attorney, knowing exactly what he was doing, which was empowering Marcia and Judy to spend his funds to support and benefit him.
I went to the neighborhood. I started talking to neighbors. Everybody on the mountain knew who Jack was, and there were a lot of things that came out of it. That really started to light things up.
After Jack made them his power of attorney, he was complaining to me that the girls had never made a payment on the house.
Both Judy and Marcia had declared bankruptcy. So the arrangement they had is that they would pay him $582 a month for 10 years, at which time Jack would turn over the title of the cabin to them. But in 8 months' time, they had only made 2 payments to Jack, and he wanted his money.
Then I saw new cars parked up at the house. They had bought a new Jeep and a new Corvette, a new motorhome. I mean, these women, when they first came to town, really didn't seem to have anything.
And so when you started hearing that they were buying all these things, that made us wonder, okay, where is Jack's money? I was able to write a search warrant for the banking information. And I just started putting spreadsheets together that had each transaction and where it went and what it went for.
They took Jack's money and they immediately spent it on big purchases. A Corvette, the Jeep Wrangler.
After that, there were multiple withdrawals from Jack's account to Marsha Johnson.
She's taken another $7,500. Then she's taken another $10,000. And she kept on just taking more and more and more until she took it all. And that led them to me and Sergeant Bobby Dean.
This is very shocking that these two women thought it was appropriate to purchase these big items as Jack's trustees.
So at that point, I called Marsha and Judy and said, okay, what in these expenses is for the benefit of Jack Irwin?
Marsha said they'd spent a lot of Jack's money buying computer equipment because she and Jack intended to start a computer business, and that she bought that Corvette to take Jack to and from the doctor. It's something that we didn't believe.
Marsha or Judy made a statement, we're on the trust, we didn't do anything wrong.
This was straight fraud, theft. They were just there to take advantage of them.
I had had some elder abuse cases in my background that I'd worked. I told them the attorneys were reviewing the matter and I would be in touch with them to let them know if there was a decision made to file charges or not.
It's difficult for Maury at that point because he can't dispute Marsha and Judy's statements to prove that those withdrawals were not authorized. We've got to find Jack.
Jack was very conscious of his money. He knew how much he had, and if his money was missing, he was going to be knocking on somebody's door to find out why.
And we suspected that Jack put the pressure on Judy and Marsha and wanted to retaliate.
I learned about the burglary. I knew about the fire.
These crimes went unsolved. They could never find out who the actual perpetrators were.
That made us wonder if they had anything to do with Jack. At that point, Bobby looked at both Chris and I. He said, this would be a great case for a telephone wiretap.
A wiretap on Marsha and Judy, it could elicit some statements that would reveal more information.
This has to be authorized by the courts. And once it's granted, investigators will use a strategy that we call tickling the wire.
Every 3 days, we were going to initiate some type of contact with Marsha and Judy. When Marsha and Judy are separate, they're not aware they're being recorded.
Hello? Marsha, this is Boy Rice from the DA's office in Caballero County. I was at your house a while back. How you doing?
I'm doing okay. How are you?
Is Judy there with you?
No, she's not.
She's not there right
She's
now?
at work.
Oh, she's at work right now?
Yeah.
Okay. I just need to drop the paperwork off to you.
Have you contacted my attorney?
I haven't spoken to anybody now.
Because I haven't retained an attorney.
Okay. That's okay. We'll see you in a few minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
We didn't have a warrant. I had a charging letter from the district attorney. I was parked right around the corner from her house in Alpine. So I just drove right around the corner, knocked on the door, and handed her the letter. There were a number of charges: grand theft, fraud, elder abuse. On that charging letter said that they needed to surrender themselves to the court in 2 weeks. I got back in the car and left, and she's on the phone to Judy.
Hello, dear. Judy, what the hell happened? Or what does that mean? I'm not going to talk on the cell phone. You know what? What?
I think there's cops all over this place. I don't know.
You're kidding.
And I could be just I could be just very hypersensitive right now.
Marcia, she was pretty shook up about the whole thing.
We were hoping to get more information as the wires continued.
At this point, the investigators turn up the heat on Judy and Marcia.
After they had moved from the cabin and were living in Alpine, Judy had been working at the California Department of Corrections. The whole place is run by cops.
Me and my partner, Detective Perez, went down and seized her car, astounded her. What do you mean? What are you doing? Why can't you do this someplace else? It was all the plan.
We knew that that was going to require a phone call because now Judy needs a ride home.
Oh, I got called to the front, Marcia. They had a search warrant. I mean, they just confiscated the expedition.
What?
And you got to come get me. It's like really pretty intense.
Well, we need to talk big time. Big time. But we'll talk when I get there.
You try to give them anxiety because people that are anxious make mistakes.
On the ride up to get Judy, Marcia called her aunt. We were monitoring the wires, and I was in the office when the call came in.
Yeah, hi, Marcia.
Hi, listen.
What? Are you okay?
No.
What?
It's all over. I'm going to turn myself in for killing Jack.
I was in the office, and one of my detectives called me and said, "Hey, you got to hear this."
It's all over. Everything's over.
Everything's over. What do you mean?
They took the expedition. They confiscated that. They already know. They already know. They're building their case. It's over. I'm just not going to do this to Judy anymore. She doesn't deserve it. So I'm going to turn myself in.
Oh, Marcia.
Marcia Johnson indicated that she'd killed Jack Irwin. It was like, wow.
It wasn't like Marcia and Judy took all his money in one day and left and took off. They did it over a period of months, and that would lead a trained investigator to say they knew he wasn't going to come back. We hoped that she would turn herself in. Did we believe it? No. At that time, the team decided to make the arrest.
She was cooperative. The main thing she wanted to get across was Judy had nothing to do with it. Judy had nothing to do with this. By the time we get back to San Bernardino, it's 2, 3 in the morning.
In the interview room, she just lets it all go.
Judy went out of town for some reason, I don't remember, and he came up there.
Why did he come up to the cabin, do you know?
He was really upset, and he said, he made the biggest mistake he could ever make as far as selling the cabin.
The reason Jack went to the cabin was because he was not getting paid.
And there was an argument.
He was walking away. I just wanted him to shut up. Just to shut up. And then I went back into the house, and I had one of his guns there, because he gave it to me. And I went back outside, and he was still talking. I don't know what happened to me. But I shot him. shot him in the back of the head. I had never seen so much blood. I didn't know what to do. So there was a chainsaw underneath the house. And this is really, really hard. I cut his head off. But when I cut his head off, I didn't realize how heavy a head is. It's really heavy.
It's really quite remarkable how matter-of-fact she was. It's really one of the most cold-blooded things I've seen in 33 years of police work.
And then I cut both of his hands off with chainsaw, and then I cut both of his feet off. And I put him in a plastic container in the back of the Expedition, and then I drove off.
She took all of these body parts down to various parts of the mountain where she was discarding them.
We spent many days up and down the mountain, but it was so vast without having an exact location. It's like looking for a needle in a haystack.
No part of his body has ever been found.
Felt like I was in a dream. I didn't even feel like I was there.
Didn't seem real.
I was like watching this. And I was really mad. And I was screaming at him, for being,
For causing that.
for making me do that.
What?
For making me do that to him.
How can anybody in their right mind take a chainsaw, fire that thing up, and cut somebody up? I mean, that to me is just sick. And then her attitude afterward, it's like, I can do whatever I want.
And in addition to confessing to Jack's murder, Marcia admits that she set fire to the cabin.
She burned the cabin down to make it look like that, they were victims.
Marcia also reveals that this burglary that supposedly took place in July of 2000, it never happened.
She had hidden the things that she reported as being stolen. It was done for the purposes of getting insurance money. Between the money from Jack, insurance claims, everything they got came out to around $470,000.
Marcia was charged with murder and 34 other counts.
She found guilty of murder, arson, grand theft auto, insurance fraud, elder abuse, and false report of a burglary. She was sentenced to life without possibility of parole.
Did you have any conversation with her about what you did to Jack at the cabin?
Judy?
Yeah.
No. Judy was not even...
Was in there?
No.
The district attorney's office had determined that they were going to use Judy Gellert as a witness against Marcia Johnson, and that she would get a plea deal.
Judy knew about the money. She was there. She spent it too. She was part of the whole thing. So I was very upset about that.
She only wound up pleading guilty to one count of receiving stolen property. She was sentenced to 180 days in jail and restitution in the amount of $150,000.
When I heard that Marcia had been arrested for Jack's murder, it was something that I couldn't believe happened. People in the community all knew that Judy and Marcia were a couple, and nobody put them down because of that. not even Jack.
The investigation revealed that Jack was very fond of Judy and Marcia.
Jack had told me that they had said that they were family to him. They were very convincing, and I don't think he doubted them.
It was all about money. And he was easy pickings to them. I just think that's the worst thing you can do to an older person, because all he wanted was friends. They tried to be like they cared about him, and they were not people that cared about him at all. There are bad people in the world that have ill intentions, and that's just tragic.
I was privileged to know Jack. He is godfather to our son. He was very much a part of our family, and it wasn't just us. It was a community that loved Jack and missed him. More than anything, I remember the love he gave to us, and that'll never go away.
If guys that are in this business tell you that they don't carry it home with them, that's bullshit. This job can break you if you let it. The man I was then and the man I am now are two different people. That case became an obsession to me. The damn toughest case I had for so many reasons. The violence, the death, it wears on the soul. The Marlon Gidd case would not go away. It was with me constantly. So you want to talk about Carol Marlon and Maggie Ginn? I was working midnight shift. I'd gotten Officer of the Year. I think I was at a point in my career that I couldn't be beaten. I had a huge ego. Got absorbed in my work, and I let my work control me.
Okay. What's up, Tuttle? Got a call from this guy reported his wife missing. Been about 4 hours since he's seen her.
4 hours? Waste my time with 4 hours for.
Husband says she received a threatening letter at work, gives him cause for concern.
Where's she work?
Astor and Leeds.
Defense contractor?
Yeah, they both work there. Says she went out with a friend after work, didn't come home.
All right. Probably be home by the time I get there.
I didn't mind working midnight shift. It could wear on you, but nothing was better from a detective standpoint than having something to work on.
Mr. Peake, we don't usually follow up on missing persons reports after only 4 hours. My wife said she was going to be home at 8:30. Now, I asked her not to go, and she went anyway. Ever since she got that letter, I worry. I was told it was a death threat of some kind. Yeah, it was pretty much a death threat. I read it. Do you have the letter? It was turned into security at Astor and Lee. Were they able to tell who sent it? I could maybe get you a copy tomorrow morning. Yeah, that'd be fine. Good. What's your wife's name? Carol Marlon. Carol Marlon. We'll call me Mom. She was out with her friend Maggie. They used to work together. You know the name of the restaurant? They weren't sure, so no. Maybe I'm overreacting. I know it sounds crazy. You got an address for Maggie? I don't believe I do. She's my wife's friend. I barely know her. Look, Miss Peake, why don't you be honest with me? Anything I need to know about? Any marital problems? Anything like that? Any reason to think your wife might want to leave you? Nothing. We're happy. I mean, I get it. 4 hours. But this is really not like her. Try calling her friend. Maggie, again, yeah. No answer. Okay. You got that number for me? Here it is. All right, let me get back to the office, look into it. Call you in a bit. Thanks, I appreciate it. Car. I'm sorry, what? What kind of car does your wife have? A Buick Regal, blue. Right. Okay, thank you.
I've seen this kind of thing before in cases. Wife leaves, husband leaves, and they'll stay gone for a few days, sometimes a week, sometimes months. I called the number that Pete had given me for Maggie Cannon twice and went to a recorded message. We checked the hospitals, checked the jails. There was no word.
Ed had patrol look into that blue Buick. Nothing.
Nothing. I got the gun address.
Want me to send a car?
Nah, it's okay, I'll go.
All right, then, see you later. Hey, Marnie.
Lusso? You know he can't keep his mouth shut.
Trust me, I know.
How's your neck?
It's quiet. You?
Hot. Boring.
Tell me about it.
It's an unwept. Wanna see my place?
I gotta finish this missing persons first.
I'm not sure Marnie knew what she was getting into. Maybe not so much about the job, but, about me and the way that I, the intensity that I had with the job. At around 7 in the morning, I got the address for Maggie from security where she worked. I remember, to this moment, turning onto the street, and there was Carol Marlin's car. Down in my gut, I said, this is not good. We had a problem. I knew whatever it was bad. Missing person case just turned into a double homicide. In my career, I've dealt with a lot of death. When you actually are the first on the scene, you never, ever get used to that.
Sorry. What do we got? Didn't have time to go home. Double homicide. No weapons I could find, no forced entry. We know who the Vicks are yet? Yeah. Pretty sure Carol Marlin. Husband called them missing persons. She got the worst of it. The other one's Maggie again, homeowner. Why don't you go ahead and lock off the perimeter? Canvass the area, see if anybody's heard or seen anything. And step inside with me.
It's kind of chilling to think about it right now, but I remember standing in there thinking they were comfortable with whoever did this. Both of them were, because they were ambushed. Whoever did this knew one or knew both of them.
Eddie? Yeah. Who the heck's Barry Webb? I don't know.
There's a reason that Carol Marlin was beaten in the head and the face like she was. There's a reason that there's no forced entry. It doesn't really look like it was a struggle. And there's a reason that there's a piece of paper in Maggie Ginn's hand.
That's my wife's car, all right? Is my wife in there? That's just, okay, I'm okay. Yeah, just tell me what's going on. Can you tell me?
Some people are good at being emotional, but I remember with Peak, I wasn't having a good feeling about it.
Mr. Peak, I'm gonna ask you a few questions. You up for that? How were they killed? We're still determining that. Can you think of anybody that want to hurt your wife?
I don't know. There's this guy at work. Carol and I both work with him. He's got issues with me.
What guy?
Barry Webb. He thought I was having an affair with this woman we both know, Linda Mills.
Were you?
No, we're just friends. Barry's the one in love with her. He thought I was coming between them.
Why would you think that?
Well, Linda and I went on a business trip and we had a great time as friends. She told Barry about the trip and suddenly he's acting all weird with me. And then she gets this death threat.
You said that you had no idea who sent the letter, but now you're saying that you think it might be Barry Webb. Is that what you're saying?
I didn't want to accuse the guy. I don't have any proof. He would say things like under his breath.
What kind of things?
Stuff like, he'll never get her.
You happen to get that letter for me?
I don't know yet.
It's okay. I'll get it. Any reason to think that Barry and your wife might have been, you know...
It's crossed my mind. She had an affair a few years back. I forgave her. So yeah, I mean, it's possible.
Okay. All right. Hang tight. You said you had no idea where Maggie Ginn
lived.
Yeah.
I got her address from security at work.
Yeah.
I wanted to help look for Carol.
Okay.
Peluso notified the Ginn family and talked with them, and it was hard. They were very upset. Maggie Ginn, she was a widow, had raised 3 kids, grandkids. Carol Marlin was 46 years old, doted over John, worked hard, was just a beautiful person, totally innocent victims.
Son gave them to me. Said they were best friends, did everything together.
Damn shame.
I'm gonna find the SOB that did this. I mean, we're gonna figure this out.
All right, Meg Ginn's son was robbed. Thought maybe whoever killed his mother might have gotten the address from his lockbox. They robbed about 10 grand in jewelry from him. Could have been a robbery gone wrong.
I doubt it. Look into that.
One neighbor said he saw a very tall, thin man run across his lawn around the same time the murders took place. Said he came down to the curb to get a better view, but the man disappeared through some trees near Maggie's house.
You get a murder weapon?
No.
So we got 2 dead bodies. We got no witnesses, no murder weapon, no prints. Nothing. There's no way somebody kills 2 people and doesn't leave a trace. Come on, I need a murder weapon.
In processing the scene, we didn't find anything missing from Maggie Ginn's house. I searched it twice. We didn't find anything of significance. We've got to retrace the steps, and we've got to concentrate and search to find the murder weapon. We were looking for any instrument, maybe a hammer or something similar that may have been used. Some heavy instrument that could have been held in the hand and used at close range.
Hey, guys, I think I found something. We found the pipe in the woods behind the victim's home. Now, I know that could have caused the type of injuries we found on both our victims.
Well, judging by the size and weight of the pipe, I agree. If there's blood residue or prints, I'll let you know.
I appreciate it.
Both victims suffered significant blunt force trauma, and it appeared that an instrument like a hammer or something similar to a hammer was used to inflict the injuries. I knew that I had to find physical evidence.
Pipe's not our weapon. Nothing ties it to the crime. No blood, prints, no DNA. Pipe's been sitting in the ground for years.
I needed to find that murder weapon. I had to regroup. And we're back to square one.
Yeah, Barry Webb, please. He's not in?
Barry Webb's name is on the invoice at the crime scene. We got Pete talking about him.
No, I'll call back. Thank you.
And then I'm not able to get in touch with him. So when I talked to coworkers about Pete and Barry Webb, a couple of them told me that Pete had described how Webb was abusive. Pete was afraid of him.
You buying that break and entering story Webb selling? You buying Pete's story?
At this point, I ain't buying anything from anybody till I get some hard evidence.
Like a weapon?
Yep, that'd be nice. You get that threat note we asked for?
We're still looking.
Who the heck's Barry Webb?
Pluzo. That's the same invoice as in Meg Ginn's hand. Thank you. 09.
Linda Mills, she was stuck in the middle of it.
Detective Herman?
Yeah.
I'm Linda Mills. I wanted to talk to you about Barry Webb.
This is something straight out of a damn movie.
Look, Barry would never hurt anyone.
You and Barry close?
Yes, but we're just friends.
How did Barry feel about John Peake?
I suspect he hated John. Look, I turned John down a number of times. He kept hitting on me. His wife, Carol, hated me because she thought that John and I were a thing, and...
Were you?
Absolutely not.
Just be honest with yourself. Is Barry in love with you? Take that as a yes.
Barry would never be capable of murder. Look, he was just trying to get John to leave me alone.
She was definitely trying to help Barry Webb.
Barry Webb?
Yeah, that's me.
Detective Herman. You mind if I ask you a few questions? You know Carol, Marlon, and Meg again?
Yeah, I know them both. Why?
Hey, he was nervous. He was nervous.
Listen, can we talk?
Are you here about the break-in I had the other night?
I didn't have any idea what he was talking about. So Webb came into the office, and we sat down, and I talked with him.
Mr. Webb. Identify that for me?
Sure, it looks like a piece of a receiving memo.
That your signature right there?
No. I mean, it is, but that's not my handwriting.
Look, Mr. Webb, we looked into you. We know you have issues with John Peake. Listen to me. Listen to me. Don't lie.
Yeah, fine. I have issues with the guy. But Peake is the one with the problem.
You two have Linda Mills in common?
Linda and I are friends. In fact, he's been all over her, but she isn't interested. I know he blames me for it.
Mr. Webb, you have to understand that what we're dealing with is a double homicide. You understand that?
I'm not lying.
All right. We need you to submit a hair sample for us. Would that be okay?
Why? I didn't do anything. Look, okay, when you first came to me, I told you I thought you were there for a break and enter that I reported.
Right.
It was John Peake who broke into my house.
How does John Peake forget to tell the police about this happening out there at Webb's house?
I went to the basement and I saw him try to leave through the window with this black bag. I went to grab him, but he got away.
Black bag?
He must have stolen something from me because it was making a clanking sound like metal on metal. Mm-hmm. Look, I'm not taking the blame for murder.
Right here. How far is it from John Peake's house to Maggie Ginn's house?
About 10 miles?
10 miles. And he'd have to drive over this bridge to get there now, wouldn't he?
The only way to get there's over this bridge.
It's a good place to hide a murder weapon, isn't it?
Old black bag.
Why wasn't the letter reported to the police?
Carol didn't make a big deal about it. In fact, she blew it off, actually.
Blew it off. She wasn't worried about it?
No.
Any idea who or why someone would threaten Carol Marlon?
Well, we've had a bunch of layoffs. Could have been some pissed off employee.
You ever have any complaints about John Peake?
John Peake mentioned that Barry Webb had it out for him when he brought me the letter.
Give me a second. John Peake brought you the letter?
Yeah.
I thought Carol Marlon reported it.
No, it was John Peake, and he made a big stink about it.
Any reason to think John Peake has issues with his wife? You know, maybe he was cheating on her, or...
Man, all kinds of shenanigans going on around here. I couldn't see either way.
Can I keep this?
Sure.
Thanks, sir.
Too many things with Peake didn't add up. He lied about knowing where Maggie Ginn lived. He lied about the threatening letter. And he didn't tell me about the break-in at Barry Webb's house. I needed something significant to tie Peake to the crime, and then I found it.
John Peake changed his life insurance 2 weeks before his wife was killed.
They both did. She changed hers as well, same day. That's good.
Peake's our guy.
He was going to plant evidence in Webb's basement. He was going to plant the murder weapon there, thinking the police find this invoice with Webb's name on it. They're going straight out there. They're going to search this place. They're going to find a bloody hammer.
Now I'm gonna push for a confession.
Well, Ed, still have a murder weapon.
It's John Peake that did it. With or without the murder weapon, I get a confession. He's going to jail.
Yeah, but Pete gets smart, stops talking. We don't have enough to press charges.
I'll get the confession.
He was a huge gamble because I knew I got one shot.
I think you planted the invoice in Maggie Ginn's hand.
What invoice?
The one with Barry Webb's signature on it. I think you wrote it, and I think you shoved it into Maggie Ginn's hand right after you killed her.
What? No, I didn't kill her.
I think you lied about the threat letter.
No, I forgot that I was the one who brought it in.
And you failed to tell me you showed up at Barry Webb's house the night your wife was murdered.
Barry had it out for me. I went to his house because I was worried for my wife.
You got an answer for everything, don't you, John? Why don't you just tell me the truth?
I didn't kill her, if that's what you're asking. I loved my wife.
Yeah, well, maybe she didn't love you.
Don't you say that. Don't you dare say that!
Weren't you the beneficiary on your wife's life insurance?
Yeah, and she was on that.
Didn't you change that life insurance policy 2 weeks before she was killed?
People change their life insurance policies.
Oh, so it was just good timing then. You want me to tell you what I think happened? You wanted Carol Marlin gone because you had eyes for Linda Mills. I mean, she looked good. The girl looked good, right? I mean, I get it. Time for a change. You wanted to frame Barry Webb, get him out of the picture, but you weren't expecting him to be home that night. What was in the black bag, John? Was that the murder weapon?
Everyone suspects the husband.
It's okay, John.
I was scared. She... Am I being charged?
I'm thinking about it.
Knowing it and proving it are two different things, detective. You should be ashamed of yourself.
In Georgia, the best way to get a conviction is physical evidence and a confession. In this case, it was circumstantial evidence. I mean, there were all these circumstances, and what was going to put us over that wall was him admitting to it, and he didn't do it. I felt like I'd failed on the case.
Let's dredge a lake.
Only makes sense. Pete tossed the murder weapon in the drink.
We don't have the manpower. By the time we dredge the lake, which is impossible, by the way, Pete will die of old age.
Without a murder weapon.
We got nothing. Yeah, I'm aware.
Eddie.
Go for Eddie.
Just got a call from John Peake's father.
He wants to confess. And?
Father says his son's missing. Says Peake left a suicide note.
I'd had my fill when he wrote this letter and disappeared. And thinking, that son of a bitch. And it was just like I was numb for a few minutes.
We'll talk to him. I want to see that note.
If he went off, killed himself, case is closed. I want to see the note because it didn't fit what I knew about John Peake, that he was actually going to go out and kill himself. To me, this was all self-serving, cry on somebody's shoulder BS. I knew he was going to surface, just a matter of when.
Peake's trying to hide the evidence. No way he's committed suicide.
One of the things that I remember thinking about is, what if he's returned to where he ditched that bag? What if it's not in the water? What if it wasn't thrown in a dumpster?
Peake is right here. Maggie Ginn and Barry Webb was right there. Peake was breaking into Barry Webb's house when he got caught with the black bag.
I think he got rid of it between the drive from Webb's house to home. Because he knows now, hey, the gig's up, he caught me in the basement, law enforcement's gonna be involved out there. I gotta do something with it. So maybe he hid it in a temporary place.
We find Peake, we find a murder weapon.
We spent the next 48 hours trying to find John Peake. We didn't have any luck. Around that time, we got the lab results on Barry Webb's hair samples, and he was cleared.
Eddie, some lawyer here to see you? You can call off your search. My client, John Peake, as you can see, is alive and well. Any further questions for Mr. Peake can go through me.
Oh, I'm glad Mr. Peake's alive and well. Wish I could say the same for his wife and Maggie Ginn. We got nothing.
So we keep digging.
I screwed up. We're never gonna find that murder weapon, man. It's gone. Because of me, that guy's gonna get away with murder.
It was a burden. I mean, it was a huge problem to me. When it looked like we weren't gonna come up with anything else, the anger toward him and what he had done, it was worse. I wanted to provoke a confrontation.
Hey, John. John! Hey, why don't we use some of that insurance money of Carol's? Put out a reward. Catch this son of a bitch, huh? Huh, John? John, you know where to find me.
Maggie's family and Carol Marlin's family, and they're frustrated. But in defense of them, I mean, they had a right to be, I think, and you know, because hey, you're the detective. You think he's the killer? He's still walking the street. When I found out Pete got remarried, I can remember thinking, well, that SOB, okay, what a arrogant, condescending piece of crap. What is he thinking? Is he thinking, I got away with it once, I'm gonna get away with it again?
Don't look. Slowly.
What are you doing? Okay.
You ready?
Yes, I'm
You didn't
ready.
peek?
No, I didn't peek.
Surprise!
Oh, thank you, baby. Oh, look at all. Oh, thank you.
Come on, here we go.
I came home and there she was, I swear. I found her like that. I know everyone thinks the husband did it, but I didn't do anything.
I remember I was sick to my stomach when I first heard that he had killed again. I mean, literally sick to my stomach. He is a master manipulator. He's set this thing in motion, but I am flabbergasted. I mean, I am dumbfounded that he has done this again. Done it again in the same county, knowing he's gonna have to deal with the same people again, meaning me. I just caved to the fact that he's a sociopathic killer, and we got to deal with it.
Son of a bitch says new wife, Casey Peak, dead when he got home.
How convenient. Carol and Maggie are both beaten.
Yeah, with hammers or something. Casey was killed with a shotgun, right to the back of the head.
She never saw it coming either.
You have physical evidence, circumstantial evidence, and then also when you have multiple incidents, multiple crimes committed by the same offender, you can use the similarities, the pattern.
All right. We swabbed Peak for gun residue, got nothing.
Of course not. Planned it out.
Just like the first murders, we got no murder weapon.
Peak found Casey dead, he called it in, just like he called in Carol Marlin missing, right?
That's a pattern.
Yeah, but it's not enough to link the two cases together.
All of the circumstances, the dishonesty, the lies, I had charted those.
But we need more.
Peak said his wife's purse was stolen. Then Mr. Myers found it, got Peak's number from it, and called him.
Peak said the phone call worried him so much he went home to check on his wife, and that's where he found her dead, shot in the back of the head.
And now he refuses to take a lie detector test.
I wonder why. We need something to tie it all together, or else the DA won't give us an arrest warrant.
I wanted to charge him, but we're dealing with circumstantial evidence. What I felt was overwhelming circumstantial evidence, but in and of itself, circumstantial evidence. And we didn't have that thing that was going to seal the deal.
Rizzo.
Tell me you found something.
That was in the detail.
Got nothing to say till my lawyer gets here.
I hope you have an expensive lawyer.
He was one lucky son of a bitch for a long time. Did he plan it? Was it methodical? To a certain degree, yes. Was it sloppy? Yes. Did he outthink himself? Yes. Did he outthink us? Nope.
Peek took out a life insurance policy on his second wife, Casey Peek.
Seems Carol Marlin.
We got our pattern. Think we can get him on all 3 murders?
One way to find out.
We had enough similarities that it put me in a position where I had enough probable cause to take a warrant in the Carol Marlin Maggie Ginn case.
John Peek, you're under arrest for the murders of Casey Peek, Carol Marlin, and Maggie Ginn. You want to waive your right, John? We talk about it? We've already talked, Detective. Okay.
It's tough. You know, we got 3 dead women and you know, we can't change that. So I just wish I could have put him in jail sooner. But it didn't work out. And the worst thing about that is we had another victim, and you know, that bothers me. But in the end, you know, in the end we won. And he's where he needs to be. That's it for me. That's all I got. Unless you have other questions.